to be the person you are?
Okay. Well, I'm Jewish. My father escaped Hitler.
With a name like Jonathan Cahn?
I think so.
A Jew? Come on.
So
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
And grew up, went to synagogue.
Your father actually was in Germany.
Escaped as a kid from Germany. Yeah, I grew up in Germany. And when I was 8 years old, I questioned what I was learning in the synagogue. I didn't see the God of the Bible in the synagogue.
What part of the country did you grow up in?
New York.
Yeah.
New York State.
Yeah.
And once I questioned it, that was it. I became an atheist. So I was 8 years old. I was an atheist. That lasted till I was around 12 or 13. I said, when atheism doesn't work, there's got to be something. It's got to be close. So I started getting books on everything: science, religion, the occult, everything I could. And one day I, by accident, picked up a book. I thought it was a UFO book. It was The Late Great Planet Earth by Hal Lindsey.
Ooh.
And so God tricked me with that. And I said, wow, all about the prophecies that I knew nothing about this. The Bible
It
said
looked,
this.
I think the typeface
Yes.
made it look like Eric von Däniken.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Come on. People who know those books, they know. It looked just like Chariots of Fire.
Exactly.
Chariots
of the Gods.
Chariots of the Gods by
Yes.
Eric von Däniken.
That's right.
And you pick it up and you
That's
open
right.
it up and it's not a book on UFO.
No, and God kind of got me through the back door because I'm reading these other books. They all mention Jesus. Everything mentions Jesus. So I said, okay, so it opened me up. So I started reading the Bible now, and I saw the prophecies of our Messiah, born in Bethlehem, light of the Gentiles, died for our sins. And all these things that were Catholic were in my Bible. I thought, how did they get in my Bible? So I started believing. I'm telling my friends about it. I'm preaching. I'm not saved. I'm winning people to the Lord.
Wait a minute. This
Yes.
is really crazy. So you're a teenager.
Yes.
And you're a voracious reader, and somehow you start seeing things in the Bible and you're talking about it to your friends.
Yes.
But at the same time, you're not sure where you stand in terms of who God is.
Well, I started, but more and more I believed in my head, but I did not want to live it. So I'm not living it,
Were your parents upset? I mean, if your father escaped the Holocaust, a lot of times Jewish people obviously have real antipathy toward Christians.
Yes.
So what was it like for you as a kid? Suddenly you're talking about this.
Well, what I did at one point, I said to my parents, I said, listen, I'm going to read you some things. Tell me if it's what it's about. I'm going to read you some things from the Bible. Tell me if it's the New Testament or Old Testament. Tell me what it's from and how sure are you? So I read all these things. They were all, and all they said, that's Jesus, that's Jesus, that's Jesus. I said, okay, everything I read was from the Hebrew Scriptures, our Bible. I said, well, that doesn't mean anything. But when I told them, but see, the thing is that I didn't tell them I was coming to the Lord because I was trying not to come to the Lord because I thought if I start following him, I'm going to join a monastery and that's the end of my life.
Now, were your parents in terms of faith? Were they serious about their Jewish faith, or they were cultural?
They're serious about being Jewish, but not about the faith. They're both scientists. They both were very secular, but they sent me to Hebrew school, So the thing is that, so finally, I knew I had to give my life to the Lord. I knew how to follow him, but I didn't want to. So I made a deal with God, which is very Jewish. I said, Lord, if you give me a long life, I'll accept you when I'm on my deathbed. So what happened was, right after I said that, I almost got killed twice. The second time, I'm heading to a train track.
God says, you want to be wise with me, young man?
Yes.
I'll give you a deathbed experience.
That's exactly.
Huh?
That's exactly. He moved it up. So I'm heading to a train track at night. I see there's a light. It's the train, but other cars are crossing. There was no protection. I said, let me just check. I look, it's the train, but I'm on the track, and I didn't even realize it because it was all dangerous. People have been killed there. I said, let me just back up to be safe. But there's now cars in back of me, headlights. So I just back up about a foot. But I think I'm just extra safe. I'm still in the path of the train. The train comes, smashes into my car. The car goes up like aluminum foil. The only thing I could do was call out to God. I said, oh, God, I called out.
Wait a minute. You're driving.
I'm waiting for the train.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
You're in a car, and the car is hit
by the train.
Seriously, you are 19 years old, and the car literally gets hit. I mean, when you think of the momentum and the weight, this train.
Yes.
Okay.
It was like aluminum foil is what it was. Goes up, I call out to God, the car is destroyed, I don't get a scratch. Made the headlines, this whole thing. So I said, okay, God, I said this. I said, can we renegotiate? And so I said, here's the new deal. I'll accept you when I turn 20. Just don't kill me until then. And so it was about 8 months away. And on my 20th birthday, like a man whose contract had run out, I said, okay, I gave my word. I didn't know how to get saved, but I remember in Hebrew school, Moses met God on a mountain, Elijah. So I found a mountain. I went up to the mountain. On the top of the mountain, I kneeled down on a rock, and I gave my life to the Lord on my 20th birthday.
And when you say you gave your life to the Lord, obviously we're talking about God.
Jesus.
But
Yeshua.
for you, at that time, it was Jesus.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was not just the God
I
of
knew
the
it.
Old Testament. You
no.
said that this God, Jesus is God.
Oh, I knew it.
So you had come to this mentally,
Yes.
but you just weren't ready
Yes, I didn't want to
live it publicly.
That's right. I didn't want to, and if it wasn't for, the Bible says Jews demand signs. I needed a train. And so if it wasn't for that train, I probably wouldn't know the Lord today. I wouldn't be following him. So I thank God for that train.
That is scary and insane
Yes.
and beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so
that's how
you
that's
came
how it happened.
to faith dramatically. Now, did your parents get upset with you? I can imagine that they were not happy.
Yeah, when I told my father, I said, well, "What's your reaction?" He didn't say anything. He said, "I'm catatonic. I can't. That's it. It's over." But you know what? They didn't like the word Jesus, but they liked the effect of Jesus in my life. So in fact, and they were even proud of what God did, because then He started changing me. And they liked the presence of Jesus. Just the name they have a problem with.
What was it about you that they could see different?
I became a better person, nicer. I became, I wasn't into things that I was into as a teenager. I gave it up. They saw me ministering to the homeless in New York City and ministering to people and trying to bless people and teach people. And they saw my life become that.
Wow. Did you have siblings?
Yeah. I have 2 older sisters. I was the baby.
And were they freaked out by this?
Not as much as my parents, but okay, that's interesting. What do you it's a different thing, but yeah, but also they're kind of looking back, hey, what's happening with Johnny? What's happening with his?
So it sounds like from the beginning, I mean, having this experience reading Hal Lindsey, you had a curiosity about the prophetic, about this idea that things in the Bible can tell us about what's going on now and even in the future.
Yeah, I wasn't seeking for that. I was seeking for truth. But the thing that blew me away, Eric, was that what the Bible said is happening today. The same God of the Bible is the God of today. It's real. It's not just this tradition. I was never for religion. It's real. He's reality. That blew me away. I never was taught that.
When you wrote this, the new book now is called The Oracle, brand new book, and the subtitle is The Jubilean Mysteries Unveiled. So where does this come from? I've never heard of anything like the Jubilean Mysteries.
Yeah, well, it's the Jubilee, the Oracle. This is really, we've known each other and you've known books I've read. This is really the largest spanning mystery I've ever dealt with. It deals with a secret really behind the past, not just the present, current events, the future, our lives. It goes back to the Jubilee. The Jubilee is that in that year, everyone shall return to their ancestral possession. Freedom, everyone shall return, each one. Well, the amazing thing is, God says that the prophecy is that He will scatter the Jewish people to the ends of the earth. It says in the end times, He will gather them back to Israel. They will return. So Israel is the Jubilean nation. But the amazing thing is their return and all these things that have happened follow this pattern of the Jubilee. They've affected world history. They've affected everything. But they all, number one, they happen on these cycles that are Jubilean, that these key prophetic things, it'll connect with you in this, happen always on these cycles. Another mystery linked to that is called the parashas, and that is that there are these appointed words. They're read every week in the synagogues of the world. They open up the scrolls, But the amazing thing is that I saw someone doing this, is that when these things are read at key times, what is read, the scriptures that are read are happening that day in the world, which we'll see it happens again and again and again. This goes down to, Eric, specific dates of when things happen, involves the rise of America, the fall of nations, even the presidency. This will get to Donald Trump, and it will go beyond it. This is really, I believe, a blueprint of end time prophecy. It's the grand theme about what's happening right now. So it's very, very big. And it's also, listen, the Jubilee is our lives, the plan of our lives. It's salvation as well. It's really the whole Bible goes along this, but it's specific to our lives. It's been affecting our lives since the day we were born.
Well, Jonathan Cahn, we're just about out of time. I can't believe that you've written a book so full of this stuff. It's wonderful. And look, you're a gift because, it's not like there are other people writing books like this, to be able to see this and then to publish it and to get it out there. It's important. I think it's very, very encouraging. So again, thank you. I don't need to wish you good luck with the book. We don't believe in luck. We believe in the Lord of hosts. Jonathan Cahn, congratulations.
Thank you, Eric. It's a joy.
Thanks for being my guest. The book is The Oracle, the Jubilee and Mysteries Unveiled. Available at fine tobacconists everywhere. I have the privilege of sitting with an old friend, James Ackerman, who is now the president and CEO of Prison Fellowship. James Ackerman, welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
What is it that got you, I mean, tell us about your background and how you got interested in working for Prison Fellowship, because it's, to my mind, an interesting part of the story.
Well, in the early 2000s, I was the CEO of a publicly traded company in San Francisco. And to be perfectly frank, I'd made my work kind of my whole world. And my wife was becoming increasingly concerned about my lack of engagement with the family. And she literally sent our son Holden and I on a father-son retreat. I'm a big believer in divine appointments, and God gave me one that weekend. Our cabin mates were a guy named Dick Paulson and his son Jeff, and Dick was the development director for Prison Fellowship on the West Coast. In fact, Chuck used to refer to Dick as the best in the business, the best development guy ever. And he was.
I need 3 of those.
Right.
Okay.
So Dick told me more about Prison Fellowship's work and about the history of Chuck and all of that, and invited me to go with him to prison. And so I did, and saw an intensive Prison Fellowship program in that prison. Today, that program is called the Prison Fellowship Academy.
If somebody's just listening right now, they say, well, what is Prison Fellowship?
Well, quick history lesson. So Prison Fellowship was founded 43 years ago by the late Chuck Colson, who got caught up in the Watergate scandal when he was the special counsel to President Nixon. And before he went to prison, a guy named Tom Phillips, who was the CEO of Raytheon Corporation, led Chuck to the Lord. And while he was in prison, he discovered that men, and by proxy women, are amongst the most marginalized. Men and women in prison are amongst the most marginalized in society. And he realized that he needed to do something about that. So when he got out of prison, and in 1976, he started Prison Fellowship. You know, here's the thing I discovered that first time I went to visit a prison. These are people. And there's a reason why Jesus calls us in Matthew 25 to visit the imprisoned, because he wants us to see these too are his children. These too are people made in God's image. Yes, they've made very bad choices, which is what has landed them where they are. But they're not necessarily bad people per se. They're people who made bad choices. And
don't we want to think they're bad people, though? I think that's the issue, is that we want to believe that that's them, they're there, and I'm here, and they're bad people, and I'm not, and I'm a good person because I'm not there.
Right, but that's self-justification to say that I'm not a bad person and that person is. That's judging and self-justification. Right. Jesus doesn't call us to be self-justified. I'm a sinner just as much as the guy who's in prison for life, right? My sins may be very different than that person's sins, but Jesus has a plan for that person's life as well. I have seen more lifers who find Jesus in prison and become assistants to the chaplain, become evangelists in the prison yard. I mean, it's amazing what happens. And you find these people who God actually has a purpose and plan for their lives to minister to other people that are in the prison 24/7.
There's something about prison, as I was saying earlier, that it's a clarifier. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, because of being imprisoned, they're forced to see themselves in a way that they might never have seen themselves before. Yeah. And it gives them an opportunity. And that, to me, is the beauty of Prison Fellowship, is you go into those places where people are open, and you say, okay, if you really are open, we've got some answers, we have some hope.
Right. Most prisons have, like any place, have a culture. And in most prisons, men's prisons in particular, that culture is geared around gangs. And so a lot of men who go to prison end up becoming worse criminals and, to be frank, worse people when they come out, because they join a gang and they get into that kind of gang warfare mentality in prison. And what we do is we go in and say, no, there's a better plan. There's a better way. Jesus has a purpose and plan for your life. receive Jesus into your life, become a follower of Jesus Christ, and become a productive citizen. Take yourself on a path of restoration and hope and transition and transformation so that you can become a productive citizen both in and out of prison. And this is the very thing that Chuck Colson saw. And one of the guys I met along the way was this giant African-American guy, about 6'5", covered in tattoos, who was in prison for first-degree murder. And he wasn't a lifer, but he was in for a very long sentence. And he asked me, he said, would Jesus really forgive me for what I've done? He goes, I knew what I did. I know what I've done. And I said, are you sorry for it? He said, yes. I said, then Jesus is prepared and able to forgive you of what you have done, if you are prepared to receive that and step into it. And tears started streaming down this guy's face. He just needed somebody to bring him the message of hope, which is what we're called to do, right? And so if you've done something incredibly horrible in your life,